Patriotism is dying. And who's the enemy? The enemy is always the system. We are told about this Clean Up Joburg campaign because the G20 is here. It's going to benefit a few of those politicians who are there giving monies, those who are running companies. Is it a coincidence that when Cyril Ramaphosa is a state president, Motsepe, they are flourishing more and more? The same as with Zuma, Duduzana, Bokulubuse. Duduzana at some point, I think, was bought out in a billion. When pressure groups like Dudula march and march, pushing back, they arrest the very same people who want to do right, who want to preserve the integrity of South Africa. We want to see ministers going over 30 years, 40 years. There must be something that, NPA can do against the Minister of Defense. The media yet is selling one view. Isn't it surprising that all of them, they supported COVID? Even though it was nonsensical, the lockdowns, the shutdowns, they agreed, they went with the narrative. Isn't it crazy that all of them, they hate Donald Trump, even though Donald Trump is doing a good job for his people? Isn't it crazy that the media houses, they are all in favor of illegal foreigners in South Africa? Isn't it crazy that a guy like me is labeled, public enemy number one? I question one radio host, but to Anele. I said, no, I don't see anything, Anele. I don't see talent. I don't see articulation. I don't see brains. And then they attack me, Borid. Isn't it surprising that they all attack me? Penny Libyane, allegedly, she's been played by these foreigners. Many of them, they're dating these foreigners. And then you must know, when your woman start dancing to the Nigerian music, making Nigerian jokes, it's been messed up by Nigerians. And I maintain, no woman of mine or woman that I'm going to marry, if she has dated a Nigerian, a Congolese, a Zimbabwean, I divorce myself. Where are we heading as a country? Awe Sanmanani Makaya. This is Ike one more time. And I didn't think that I'll be here so soon. Like I said in the last episode, I want to take a bit of a break because I've got so many things that I need to cover and so many things that I need to attend. And really, I'm not really a podcaster kind of guy. And I hear most people, they will call you a YouTuber, a TikToker, a content creator, an influencer. I'm none of those things. I don't like to box myself. And I feel it's a disrespect when somebody calls you a TikToker, somebody calls you a YouTuber, they call you an influencer, a content creator. Some of us, we were made before social media, and to be reduced into that content creator, I do acknowledge and embrace the successes of social media because they've opened up a space for people who would not normally be on platform. Back in the days, if you're a musician, you needed, to kiss ass of, producers. If you wanted to read news, you must go to SABC and beg and plead. If you wanted to do anything, acting, it was, that painful process. I do accept that. But it was about my content creator. That's why when I first got on Twitter, I didn't like it because it had this follow button. Follow me like you're Jesus. I enjoyed Facebook when they still had friendship, button to say we are all friends. Maybe I'm too humble. But it is what it is. So my younger brother continuously will be here, and now I'll come once in a while. And I know that we differ, and he's still stuck with my politics of the 60s. But I hope he moves faster because the youth, the born freeze, the AMA 2000, they want to know what is the solution. This is where historic parties like our PAC, BCM, they have fallen flat because they still quote about Sobuge. There's nothing wrong with Sobuge, Stephen Biko. When you ask them, what is the solution? They will tell you about Sobuge's speeches, 1959, the dictatorship of the proletariat, the bourgeoisie, the working class must seize the means of production. And you ask yourself, who's the working class now? Because jobs are being decimated. The peasants, who are the peasants? A few Khoisans in the Western Capes working the land, and Zimbabweans who are brought in here, and the Sotho nationals. Are those the peasants? Are those people who must seize control of the state machinery and overthrow the
the bourgeoisies. So it is crazy when people talk that language. I mean, I don't subscribe to socialism, capitalism. I'm pragmatic. I work with what works with me. And if it suits me, nami, ngihamba nayo. One guy ejimini bekangibuza wathi ayikufavani ibhola. Ngithi mina ngifavor abantu abafavor mina. And athi no, you must follow Chiefs or Pirates. Ngithi hold on, dog. When you favor Chiefs, the Chiefs favor mina. So the Pirates. So it is like that. But there are so many things happening inside the country. NPA, I remember when Shamila Patoi came in, she promised to she will be prosecuting without favor and fear. But unfortunately, we haven't seen the big names, being prosecuted. And for me, the biggest cat, the person that I would not, let go is Cyril Ramaphosa himself. There's so many things that you can touch with Cyril Ramaphosa if you wanted to prove. I mean, we should be like in China, where, they just don't give a damn. Whether you're a billionaire, former minister, they take your head on and send you to jail. You want to see ministers going for 30 years, 40 years, like that lady who spoke about a skeleton, but she got a suspended sentence. What are you saying to the men in the street? So you need to send these guys, follow them. There's so many things, irregularities, fraud, tender fraud. Cyril Ramaphosa, was involved, in the war room, the ESCOM. He benefited himself. Bo Andile Ramaphosa. If you follow Cyril, I'm sure you'll pick up something other than Pala Pala, man, it's a small fry. It's a small fry, Pala. There's so many things that these guys are doing to benefit themselves. They're taking our army to DRC, like Jacob Zuma in his term. Our soldiers died in CAR. All these guys, they're benefiting themselves. That's why when people are talking of illegal immigration, hey, we are up, against the Titan, because you look at the top 10 businesswomen in South Africa, top 10 businessmen, they've all invested all over Africa, or maybe rather exploiting, the African continent. Go Nigeria, be it go MTN, go telecommunication, mining, transport industry. They are all, entrenching themselves over there, and we are nursing their interest, at our expense, opening our borders, allowing illegal foreigners to come in here, because whenever groups like Abu Aham, Abu Tutula, they are pushing back, these guys like Abu Tabombeki, they will come and say, no, we need to integrate these guys so that they become part of society. Where in the constitution, where it says the foreigners must be given citizenships, they must be given, work permits, because they are illegal. These guys, they broken, into, our house, and then they come in here. We must arrest them. If I was the president, or if I was NPA, I would arrest these guys, give them lengthy sentences so that they can tell others. Before you deport them, give them 5 years. You return for the second time, give you 10 years. And then when you go back, nothing. If you're 40, you come out, you're 50 or 60 rather. So I would do that, but unfortunately we are not willing to do that, because we've got politicians who are benefiting from this borderless South Africa. And if you don't have borders, you don't have a country, because whatever that politicians are promising, jobs, housing, all these things are taken by foreigners who are coming here. And our demographics are changing. The culture is changing. We are having people who are coming here, Muslims, thugs, people who don't love this country. Look at the city of Joburg. Look at all our cities. Cape Town is not different. Look at Pietermaritzburg. Look at Durban. So many things are changing. You'll think that we have a problem in housing. No, we don't. We can remove people at Peria, go Hillbrow. They're cleaning Joburg, saying nothing about Hillbrow. You need to take people off Hillbrow, because those are people who are proliferating in Johannesburg, proliferating our cities. Local citizens no longer go there. Local citizens no longer go to the CBDs. It is these people who came here illegally. Bo Tefontein, Bo Mayfair, Bo Rodiport, Bo Jamestown, Bo Pinoni. I'm just mentioning Gauteng, Pretoria. You go to Klerksdorp, you go to Northwest. We don't have a problem. Infrastructure destruction, it's them. And the ANC, they don't maintain certain things that they found working. But drainage system, it can rain for 40 days and 40 nights. 2 days later, you'll be told to use the water sparingly because the drainage system is not working. The buildings are dilapidated. There are buildings where illegal foreigners are raping locals. So if you dealt in illegal immigration, you would have solved 90% of South Africa's problems. But unfortunately, this is where we find ourselves. And the NPA, they're doing nothing. Mina, if I was the head of NPA, yes, the Minister of Defense, I'll take him head on because we are defenseless. I'll take him head on, prosecute him for negligence. I'll do something. There must be something that, NPA can do against the Minister of Defense. He's an accessory after the fact because even when these guys are here, when pressure groups like Botudula march, pushing back, they arrest the very same people who want to do right, who want to preserve the integrity of South Africa. The Minister of Police doing nothing. These guys, they go to hospitals. They see them. Why not arrest these illegal foreigners? The Minister of Labor, they go to companies, these guys, and work there. Arrest the CEO of your company. Give him 5 years, 10 years. Who's about to Discovery or whatever company, as an example. If we are employing foreigners at BMW, take the CEO, the executive, all of them, put them to jail trial, it will stop. But unfortunately, it won't because we are governed by globalists. And globalists, they put up money. They tell us what policy to, move as they're coming. G20, G8, G7. These things are not just happening like soccer World Cup. It's fun. These people are coming. You check the purpose of G20 to shape policy, to shape geopolitics, telling you that you are part of this movement. And from now on, you're opening borders. That's why we no longer have UK. France has fallen. Belgium has fallen. Sweden was beautiful, the country of the blondes. Today you've got Nigerians running amok, you've got Pakistanis, you've got, nonsense, messing up other people's countries, borders. Patriotism is dying. In the new South Africa that, is going to be coming in the next 20 years, a new South African man, will be half. Mother Zimbabwean, father Nigerian, Zulu, and the proper ones who grew up here, legitimate, they'll be drunk, fed drugs, and their population dwindling. That's what they want, these guys, because they want an open border. Cecil John Rhodes type of a setup where they can exploit the whole continent, exploit the whole world, go to India. If they advertise one job in South Africa, somebody can take it from India, from Pakistan, less. It's them who are making money, the multinationals. That's why for me, I always say, who's the enemy? The enemy is always the system. The system is, is constituted of these government footy, they are at the lowest. You've got multinationals, like it was, during the Renaissance, the European Renaissance. These companies, they merge. Even after World War I and II, they merge, controlling everything. We are governed by companies. Go BlackRock. There's so many companies. That's why today we are eating products that are genetically modified. Go Monsanto. Today you go to any, food retail, what do you call them, restaurants and everywhere, they'll give you a chicken which has been, injected with water, even beef. Now we're going to be like Americans. You must season food, overnight and over because it no longer tastes like beef. It no longer tastes like chicken. You're tasting all these ingredients that you put because you're trying to make it palatable to the tongue. Even now, I bought a Martin. I could not taste whether it's Martin or not. You must put everything, put mustard, put honey, like Americans. So this is where we find ourselves. So if I was NPA, what public protector, I will take these guys on. There are prosecutable cases. Department of Education. These guys, they send their kids there. I mean, arrest them. We had Abu Chidima wanting to be Miss South Africa, Miss Universe. Prosecute the mother, prosecute everyone who was responsible. Go hospital. These guys, they go to hospitals. They are illegal. I mean, it's like if an illegal criminal is running away, comes into my house, I must report that person, or else I become accessory after the fact. Housing, their own RTPs, Goma Squatter Camp, it's them. In the CBDs in Johannesburg. Take on the Minister of Housing, the Minister of Labor. That's what I was telling all these guys what to do. Like bringing lawyers. I brought lawyers. I was part of that. But guys want to march. I mean, you gotta be more intelligent than marching. For how long are you marching? March and march. Okay, it's good to set up an awareness. You don't see Afro-Forum marching. You don't see Jewish scholars marching. You don't see Indians marching. You don't see all these guys who've got power marching. You don't see multinationals marching. They go to court and implement the court judgments. But so we must rise above that. You must rise above Kijima, Abese, Siabasaba Tina, because that's not power. As I normally say with him, powerless people do powerless things, like marching in the street and pretending to be carrying umradata. People with power, they have umradata. People with power, they rise, they get angry. They say, today in Nepal, nobody's moving out. In the airport, we're closing down. The government must fix the problem. Go Sri Lanka. Tina, we are singing a stadium from lab, it's business as usual. So we don't have power. We are powerless. We're doing stupid things. Yes.
I want to know, right? If we locked up the foreigners for longer, like you said, would that not put more strain on the already strained resources of South Africa?
How?
Money?
You mean foreigners? What do foreigners contribute in this country? Because these guys, they come to this country for the very same reasons that they messed up their country. They fuck up their country. What do Zimbabweans contribute? Zimbabweans are not even in the top 10 of the most educated, most successful. They created this false narrative, Zimbabweans are smart, they are clever. If they're so clever, why are they not fixing their country? I can say Chinese are smart because they've implemented solutions that are working for them. That is smart. You Zimbabweans, they're not smart. You can't say they're smart, even if they were 20 years ago, before 2001, there were sanctions. Are you saying now, 25 years later, they're still smart? They were not. These are people who studied to comply. And South Africa was the best because we're the best in every field. Soccer, technology, health, all disciplines. But we're led to believe, no, these guys are smart. They're coming here to contribute. They're okay. For labor, cheap labor, they're okay to increase the numbers because these multinationals, they thrive on numbers. They want big numbers. When they go loan, go IMF, go World Bank, let's say you've got a population of 100 million, the repayments look good because, these monkeys, they're going to pay for 10 years, next generation, they'll be paying you. And these are also potential buyers of these products. That's why these guys, they realize South Africa is now saturated. They've reached the ceiling. MTN, they must go east. They must go to Nigeria. They must go to Middle East. All these companies, ShopRite, to increase the numbers. But unfortunately, the side effect is China, because they signed these treaties that they don't understand. When they gave up our manufacturing industry to China, signing deals in China. Let's say, for an example, we are getting everything from China. We're getting cars from China, refrigerators from China, televisions from China. Who's buying those products? Because in the past, we had people who were working. Let's say, for an example, I work at maybe KIC or Kelvinator in South Africa, is here. I earn a salary. Let me take it to standard grade, lower primary, so that people can understand. I'm earning 10,000, at Panasonic or JVC. It's in somewhere in Mayfair, South Africa. After I've earned my salary, I go buy when a company which is in South Africa, where some guys versus South Africa, they are working, whether it's Bradlow's furniture shop, the money is circulating. But if all these jobs, furniture shops, they're now coming from China, who is buying the Chinese product? Even them. Who will be buying those Chinese products? Because you'll be saying, I've got nothing because I work for no one, there's nothing. And you look at South Africa, the way we've modeled ourselves, even Guma IP, we are not that strong to say we are coming up with new inventions. We are closing down. If you're not a comrade, they will close you down. And comrades cannot produce anything. They don't have a history of producing anything. They're not your Mark Shuttleworth. They're not your Elon Musk. If you come up with something, if you don't have a comrade part of that, you'll shut you down. I've met guys who are billionaires. They complain now when these guys, before, you come up with something, you must give them 10% or 20% for doing nothing. So where are we heading as a country? And people, we are told about this Clean Up Joburg campaign because the G20 is here. It's going to benefit a few of those politicians who are there giving monies, those who are running companies. Is it a coincidence that when Cyril Ramaphosa is a state president, Motsepe, they are flourishing more and more? The same as with Zuma, Tutuzana, Bokulubuse. Tutuzana at some point, I think, was bought out $1 billion when he unjustifiably took mineral rights of another mining company. Thabo Mbeki the same. But Trevor Manuel, they were made under Thabo Mbeki, Bosaki Makozo, Mazanele Mbeki. What is it that Zanele Mbeki, does that is better than an average person? Even Motsepe himself, I can credit him maybe for hustling, initially, but many of these guys, they were made by this BEE. They did not invent anything, but Cyril Ramaphosa. So we are told about these guys, for, crying out loud. I feel good to South Africans, they are not angry enough. They should question all these bodies that are coming here, G20, NEPAD, you're told about NEPAD. What is it that South Africans that we have and is selling to the world?
Do you not think, Utsi, the globalists have numbed South African minds with problems so that they don't even have the time or capacity to even think about the G20 and how they're being affected politically? Because a lot of powerful forces love to numb the public by TikTok, by bad TV shows, by amount of distractions.
Look, it's part of social engineering. It's meant to do exactly that. That's why they've got influencers from the right, left, and center. That's why the media, they're misinforming people. We don't have a media houses. All of a sudden in South Africa, the media houses, they're all for Cyril Ramaphosa. When Cyril Ramaphosa came in, wanting to become a president, there were girls who came up. But no, these are his girlfriends. They shut them down. But no, he was helping them. Since when Cyril Ramaphosa has the heart to help? They say it was a foundation. Why is it not public? All these girls, and they've got similar, traits. Young. They came and said, no, this is a slave queen dating Cyril. They closed them down. The media yet is selling one view. Isn't it surprising that all of them, they supported COVID? Even though it was nonsensical, the lockdowns, the shutdowns, they agreed, they went with, the narrative. Isn't it crazy that all of them, they hate Donald Trump, even though Donald Trump is doing a good job for his people? Isn't it crazy that the media houses, they are all in favor of illegal foreigners in South Africa? Isn't it crazy that a guy like me, he's labeled, public enemy number one? And I'm thinking of a situation where I was with Penwell podcast. I questioned, one radio host, but to Anele. I said, no, I don't see anything in Anele. I don't see talent. I don't see articulation. I don't see brains. And then they attack me, Boridi. Isn't it surprising that they all attack me? Penny Libyane, allegedly, she's been played by these foreigners. Many of them, they're dating these foreigners. And you must know, when your woman start dancing to the Nigerian music, making Nigerian jokes, it's been messed up by Nigerians. And I maintain no woman of mine or woman that I'm going to marry, if she has dated a Nigerian, a Congolese, a Zimbabwean, I divorce myself, because you don't go from, PSL, go to the African continent to play there unless you are finished. I'm saying there is no South African player that starts playing in Burundi. There's no South African player that starts playing in Nigeria and come to PSL. You stay that side. So South Africans are better. We are better than Nigerians. We are better than Zimbabweans. That's why they're coming here, because we are better. And as South Africans, they've got a similar culture, all the tribal groups, all the races that I found here, because South Africa was a Christian country. The Afrikaners, they modeled us into a Christian country. I know what to expect when I meet an Indian who lives in South Africa, a white who lives in South Africa, an Afrikaners, a colored guy who lives in South Africa, a Pedi guy. There are certain things that we do which are common. When a child is 1, as Africans, we know what to do. When a child is 21, when you get married, there are certain rituals that are happening. When you buy a car, when you buy a house, I know who behaves, in whatever which way. These guys who are coming here, they're chasing albinos, taking 12-year-olds, making them prostitutes. We are better. Nigerians, over 200 million people, half of them living in poverty. They're living, emanzini, and they defecate in the streets. We don't do that. Our cities, there were toilets, public toilets. Mabafika bona balale toilets. You no longer go to the toilets in the CBDs because they will rob you. So we are better. This thing, Oguchi, we think that we are better. South Africa is better. That's why when Bafana is playing, Nabo Gabon, they give us a straight treatment. They ill-treat us because they say we think that we are white. But pirates, they don't say we're being ill-treated. You go to Zimbabwe, you'll be ill-treated for no particular reason, because you are a South African. You think you know better. Even if you go to Botswana, they'll tell you, hey, this is not the republic. Because people are jealous. We did not mess up our infrastructure even during our struggle. And we preserve, certain things that we had. And we value human life. This guy, they kill willy-nilly. Some of them, they've been killing children, chopping babies' hands from day one when they were liberated, go Somalia, fighting Biafra war, fighting civil wars. Tina, we do have our problems. There are people who were bought, like AFP and all that. But after a long time, they will, I don't know, will cease, all that nonsense. People will always be saying, guys, you can't go this way. You can't go this way. Look at these guys, Bo Burundi, Bo Congo. You'll never even see a pastor. But there's a prominent pastor who says, guys, stop the war. But here in South Africa, there'll always be someone saying, guys, stop what you're doing. We are better than these guys, So unfortunately, South Africans, they bought into this thing which we are cleaning up, Joes. We are cleaning up for who? Why these guys were not cleaning? After the guests have left, we're going to go back to square one. We're going to go back to square one. We are cleaning so that you don't embarrass Cyril Ramaphosa. Cyril Ramaphosa must paint this picture with Joburg. It's ran, it's nice, so that he can get more money for himself. He can, move all over, spread his wings with his relatives and the Motsepes and others that we don't even know, and spread all over. These guys, they're using this country. Like we've seen go Nigeria, where ministers, the president will go to IMF, loan money, and the money goes straight into his pocket or the company. Yeah, so that's where we find ourselves. So, yeah, for me, I find it strange that even our artists, they are quiet. Influencers, they are quiet. They all sing in one line. I ask myself, there were times where he had Abonina Simeon, Bohere Belafonte, we had Abo Letambulu, conscious artists. Everyone now is singing about alcohol, dance, party. There were artists, Mire Makeba, who were bigger than Black Coffee, who were bigger than Master KG, who were bigger than all these artists. You find Trevor Noah, Partisan. I used to love Trevor Noah. I thought that he was the smartest comedian until I realized that he's a politician. He's gone with the woke. He's into the woke, the liberals. The liberals that have messed up this country, the feminists messing up this country, all these alphabet people who are messing up this country, the globalist, agenda. Where is activism now? Everybody's like money. I do what I do. I'm not motivated by money. I need money. I want money. If money comes, I'll take money. But you cannot use money to rob me from pushing what I believe. You cannot use money to rob me. Ukuthi, I mustn't speak my truth. You can't do that. You can't do that. I've come a long way. Even if I wanted to betray, I come a long way. I can't do it now. So I'm surprised, which we don't have. I'm an artist afana nabo Bob Marley. Gcine ngabo Lucky Dube, bo Brenda Fassie. Conscious artists, people who've got a platform to revolutionize the society. And yet, they want the public support. Our actors, who's going to be a Zex Mukai? We don't have those. So it is unfortunate. That's why I don't want to be grouped with these guys. Once somebody calls me an influencer, a TikToker, a YouTuber, don't group me. I'm different. I'm just Ike. I'm different. I don't look like these guys. I don't smell like these guys. I'm different. The only time they play my music. I used to play South African music, regularly. I still do. But many of them, they are disgusting. They have no sense of patriotism. All of them, they support foreigners. All of them, they're into government. The Mzwakhe bullies of the 80s. Mzwakhe has become something else, seeking funding. There was a Mzwakhe before democracy. There's a Mzwakhe now who's become utterly, blatantly useless. There was a Mzwakhe bully at Triple M. The day shall dawn. Who's going to be like that now? No one. No one is going to be like that now. So unfortunately, we have a situation where everybody just follows my leader, as the saying goes with the school. We used to say Mashangan line. And like now, we've got Palestinians who are here. Palestinians coming here into South Africa. And South Africa is becoming a Muslim country. Without people being aware. Let me tell you the model of these guys. These guys, when they come into a country, they come as a minority. They preach religious tolerance until they become a majority. Once they become a majority, they will tell you, listen, this space is ours. This is Mayfair. This is, east of Joburg. We need a Sharia law. We need our schools, prayers. They change culture like you go UK. And then they start practicing intolerance. They start shutting down. If you're a Christian, you no longer exist. That's what they do wherever they go. That's how North Africa was captured. I mean, North Africa was not always Muslim. Go Tunisia, go Algeria, go Egypt. That's why black people ran away. They came down to go Congo. They kicked out. Go Saudi Arabia. It was not always Arabic. We kicked out, go Kuwait, kicked out in other countries. Go India, kicked out, in many countries. They come in here. I mean, you check many countries. They've got their traditional attires. Go Brunei. But now they no longer wear that. They wear Muslims. When they come in, they force themselves. Before you know it, you got explosion. This is what is going to happen in the near future. Like the Nigerians, they were trying to have their own councillor, representative in Hillbrow, saying that they want a Nigerian representative to represent them because they are a sizable majority. That's what happened. It becomes an invasion. And these guys don't care because they know which border they've got bodyguards. Malema, they've got bodyguards where they stay. And they say open borders. They've got bodyguards. And that's why, I'm tough on these leaders. And people saying, Ike, you hate these guys. No, I'm telling the truth because minions don't see what is happening. Let me tell you about the Arabs. The Arabs, these Muslim guys coming from Palestine, they jump all the countries. They come to South Africa like all these foreigners. I mean, you must go to a country close to you. If you're a refugee, you cannot jump, you come from India, Pakistan, you jump Somalia, you jump Kenya, you come here. No, and when you come here, we ask, where's your wife? Where's your children? You're a refugee as a man. Like they go to Europe, it's only young men taking over. The Palestinians, they were accommodated in Kuwait around, post-48, 1948. These guys, when they came in there, the PLO, they started antagonizing Israel and also siding with Saddam Hussein. It became worse. in the 90s, when Saddam Hussein took over Kuwait, they sided with the enemy. The same way as the Hyksos in Egypt sided with the enemy. The Hyksos are the people that we are told that they are the chosen people. People stole their identity. There were people called the Hyksos who were in Egypt historically. So these guys, they sided with Saddam Hussein. And then after the war, or after Saddam Hussein retreated, Kuwait said, hell no, we are expelling these guys. They expelled 200,000 of Palestinians. They went to Jordan. Nabo Arafat, when they came to Jordan, they did exactly what they usually do. They started to attack Israel. Israel is going to attack back. And then Jordan realizes, no man, we are suffering. Tina, we don't have a problem that much in Israel. This is not our war. And then they started fighting the people of Jordan. They started, fighting, wanting to take over Jordan. They were expelled again. They went to Lebanon. Lebanon hasn't recovered. Now, Lebanon, they attacked Israel. They wanted to take over Israel. Wherever they've been accommodated, they want to take over. In Egypt, they came there, they wanted to take over. That's why Arab people don't want them. Egypt raised borders high. Nobody wants Palestinians. And people saying, how come Arab countries don't want them? Because when they are there, they want to take over. Saudi Arabia doesn't want them. Syria doesn't want them. Nobody wants them. Libya don't want them. Algeria don't want them. Because whenever they come in, they start plotting. Even Manje, South Africa is a playground. All these guys like about Al-Qaeda, they were once here plotting. You've got Cyprus Mafia, Serbian Mafia, Jerusalem Mafia. You've got all these mafias. Even wannabe Nigerian mafias coming here, plotting, using South Africa, as a playground. And then, what does it say about our currency? It's affecting us internationally. Our passport is no longer respected because we keep on allowing everyone under the pretense that South Africa belongs to everyone. And then our courts now, they are interpreting the constitution literally to say everyone. Everyone doesn't mean everyone. It means a South African. They must put context to that. But that's not happening. So these guys, they are sacrificing this country. And you've got misleaders. Bo Julius Malema, bo Gayton McKenzie, bo Motsepe, bo Zille, bo Mashaba. I'll tell you, Helen Mashaba, he doesn't have a problem with illegal foreigners. He says document them. We don't have a problem of documentation because what happens if Nigeria, they send 15 million? China sent, 10 million. Zimbabwe sent, a couple of millions. Maybe all foreigners, they're about 50 million. You document all of them. We still have a problem. The problem is people who are here unnecessary. People who are not adding value, and they're outnumbering us now because even our birth rate, you go to nuclear hospital, it's now called Ramaphosa. What's the name here, nuclear hospital? Is it nuclear? I like to retain the old names like John Smart Airport. I like those names because these are actual people, who built something. Bo Parakwanath, I like those names. Bo John Foster, police station. These guys, when they're coming here, they're taking over. I mean, look at Gayton. He's quiet because he's benefiting. He says he's got Zimbabwean partners. Some of these guys, they use the question of illegal foreigners, to gain vote. Because if he was for South African first, he would not see Cyril Ramaphosa as his blesser. I mean, Motsepe, one useless guy. He's always criticizing Tutula because he's a liberal. These are guys who were parachuted into our politics. Uyambona ukuthi uMotsepe akanabukazi. Indoda enama-calves ufana nalo bathu maphorisa. Indoda enama-calves uyabona ukuthi akazange adlala idisk, akazange yenzeni, yabo. Lezi sifaka igipe eshayinayo. Abo Zille. Zille, he is pro-globalist. Doesn't have a problem with illegal foreigners. And this is where I have an issue, especially the white constituency. The white constituency, great as, they are in South Africa, creating jobs, civilization, taking us, from the Stone Age. But when it comes to patriotism, they prefer these foreigners. I don't know whether because they are cheaper, But it is the very same foreigners who are killing them. There was these two ladies some time ago. I think they own a franchise, the Ocean Basket, killed by foreigner. Bokori Sanders. South Africans don't have that culture of killing white people. Even during apartheid, they never resorted to that. It will be one incident after a long time. Nakhona bekumana I think uthi yo ubulala umlungu. Yabo, that's how I did death sentence. You know. So they employ these guys, kuma farms. Most farms are Turks. It's Zimbabweans, Mozambicans, and then they say blacks are killing us. Blacks are not the same. There's a South African black and the African black from Bujumbura. We are not the same. We don't observe the same things. We're different. You check about Western Cape. These guys, they want a soft life that did not work for. And then they will come and say, no, it's blacks who are killing us. Yeah, maybe the blacks of the ANC are different because they lived in Zambia, in Tanzania for a long time. They've assimilated to their cultures. But here, us who are here, we are different. You know. And I don't know whether it's because in the past people believe that all blacks vote the ANC to punish them, don't give them jobs, give it to a foreigner. Because anyway, these guys vote the ANC, or we don't want to add to the statistics, you know, job creation. But these guys, they are horrible. But Nigerians, they're giving drugs to African kids at the universities. Go reports, they call it naf. If these kids don't have money, they pay, you know, with their pussies. These are Nigerians. Black South Africans don't do that. It's not a Zulu. There are certain crimes. Some people who are useless, they say crime is crime. No, crime is not crime. There are certain crimes that are based on nationality. Building hijackings, you find Nigerians. There's a taxi violence where you find Zulus. There's food products done by Pakistanis, done by Ethiopians. There's bouncing crime and nightclub where you find Eastern European mafias. There's prostitution where you find certain nationalities. You don't find South Africans there. You don't find the Swatis saying, no, we dominate the bread industry, like the Pakistani bread mafia. You know, all these guys are here. And I thought that after 1990, we'll hold hands together and say, this is our country. I've transcended race politics. I'm not a race hustler. I've transcended, you know, all this wokeism, socialism, capitalism. If something works, let's go, buddy. Me and you, we are together. You know, but these guys, they have no loyalty. These are the same people who expelled white people in Zimbabwe in the 80s and even 2001. In Mozambique, they expelled the Portuguese, but yet when they're here, they employed them. Not only expelled them, they raped them, they killed them, they burned them with iron on their bums. But when they're here, the foreigners are treated better. They chase them. Go Kenya during the Mau Mau. The Nigerians, when they're here, they brag, they insult us, black South Africa, and they say, your country is controlled by white people. We Nigerians, we chase them out of our countries. But they follow the very same white people here. The very same white people also employ them. They job with them. They do drugs with them. Go to nightclubs, you know. And you ask yourself, what the hell is going on? That's what is happening. Yeah, you were saying?
I want to know, with all these nationalities coming here, and the nation accepting them, and hence the continent deteriorating, or the last bit of the better part of the continent is now deteriorating.
Yes.
You know, what do you think is the 50-year plan of the globalists for the whole entire world? Okay, not just Africa, because if Helen Zille or any other globalist wins, right? Don't they suffer in the end though? Because if South Africa dies, everyone dies, including the people that are benefiting from it.
These guys, they always, you know, think ahead. In their 50-year plan, they want to control all governments. Europe must be controlled from, is it Belgium? They must use the European unions. They're using these unions, like your African Union. It's not your African Union as, you know, intended by Abonkwame Nkrumah, Julius. It's another African Union that is captured elsewhere. That is, you know, controlled by the very same financiers, controlled by the very same global bodies like IMF, They want the same, to be in control, and a few people controlling our wealth. I'm sure they'll work something out with what happens. I'm sure, they also want a smaller population that is easy to control. I'm sure they also want to push their product. These guys, they're always planning ahead. 50-year plan. We plan for 5 years. Your government plans for 5 years. I mean, like for an example, take China. In China, they have planned. They've got a population. They said, come, exploit our people. And 40, I even doubt that China has those billions of people that they're talking about, because one person made, a study. He said population as in China around the 60s. It was small. I mean, they've lost a lot of people. I don't know whether they're inflating the numbers when they said, they lost 50 million people when they were shifting from agrarian, these terminologies. Yeah, but during their, what do you call it? When they're changing from one system to the other, becoming industrialized, they lost a lot of people during famine, and someone was saying in their 60s, they were about 600,000, not even a billion. So now it's counting with maybe 50 years after that, how do you triple population yakho to a billion, 1.4 billion, and then having a one-child policy, is saying they are not giving us the right stats. They are creating this, narrative what they are big. I mean, in 50 years' time, you cannot grow 60, let's say 600,000. Is it 600? Let's say 600 million for starters, or maybe let's say maybe give them a number 600 million. He says for every Chinese family they're gonna have to have maybe at least 8 children, and 8, 5, 6, and also taking into account that people die. So I feel that they created this, narrative with come and exploit us. There's plenty of us, free labor. I don't know, to what ends. But now, once they have power, once all the manufacturing companies are in China, they will think of the next 50 years, how do you colonize the world? How do we, maintain the status quo? Of course, all empires, they've got, a time frame. After a certain time frame, another one, come up with a strategy to counter. Like now, the West is falling. They've used 2 world wars, to solidify their place because they were stable. I mean, I normally make an example. Most soccer players didn't want to play in Europe, ngaboma 70s, 60s, because the European standard was still low, because Europe was devastated by 2 wars, and by 60s, they were still rebuilding. Germany was destroyed, England was destroyed, they were poor, people went to America. Everything came from America. America funded about France, sending them cars, GM, until these ones, they become smarter. So there's always someone who's going to come up with a counter. But the globalists, what they try to do, these big companies, try to read the signs, where is the economy going in the next 50 years. Some they will die because they don't adapt, like Nokia. You had about companies that were strong 20 years ago, but they're no longer there because they failed to adapt. There are those who will adapt. But Lehman Brothers, they were gone. So there are people who will adapt. Okay, fine, let's just change our names. Like they did, post-World War II, some companies changed names. Some they took other names, more Anglo-Americans, to create the picture, it is the victors, the Anglo and the Americans. But you find that the very same Nazis, they contributed there. But Ernest Oppenheimers, you find Nazis funding these companies. You might be surprised to find with Anglo-Americans, but DPS, we still have that, footprint. Like many of them, they went to Argentina, companies that were there in World War, but Siemens, but Boss. Today Boss suits, they are the best. They used to produce or, come up with outfits for Inas. But Ford was there. But VW, Beetle, it was there. I mean, but Fanta Orange, which is now into Coca-Cola, because back then they could not get Coca-Cola, they came up with Fanta. There's so many companies, but Metro Goldbeck Mayer, but Standard Oil, they changed names. So the globalists are smart. They're always thinking ahead because they've got the luxury, they've got the time. Me, I don't have that because I must pay rent. I must worry about food. They kept me trapped in the rat race. But, I mean, Elon Musk can think of the moon. I heard this week, I don't know how true is that, they say he's the first trillionaire. There are other guys that you don't even know. We don't know the Rothschilds, how much they're worth, the Rockefellers, I mean, common sense dictates that the people who are owning the banking industry, they are the richest because they are the ones who keep money in circulation and they've got the interest. About Warbeck, those are people who we don't even know. We don't read about them. We'll read about one, Ice Boy, Herzog. You think that he's the man, but there are people behind, people who are owning these economies and, who are multiple trillionaires. But they're silent, they're families. There are people who are not listed. Even when you read, like Google, you check, we don't know the wealth of this person because everything is taken off. The open hammers, you go to, England, Bank of England, privately owned, where we are told that even the royalty, they must apply for a permit before they can go to that square mile. It is a country within a country within the city like the Vatican, where it's privately owned. Last time I checked, the Oppenheimers were shareholders, the Warburg, I forgot other 4 families, but a couple of people, they've got shares there. And yet in South Africa, they create this, fake image which Motsepe is top. There was a time when Motsepe was number 1. The Oppenheimers, they were behind Motsepe. Come on, these guys, they made Motsepe. You know why? Because 2001, they relocated their funds, took their monies under Thabo Mbeki, who allowed that, to England. And then they create a picture with Motsepe, Nabo Tokyo, Bo Cyril, they are making it, Bo Phuthuma Nhleko. When you look, you say, no, we are making it. Like Cyril was saying, black people are happy when they see a company being owned by black people. No, I don't give a damn. If I'm not served, I don't give a damn whether you are black or white, if I'm okay, So they did that. And in the top 100, Motsepe was not there. The Oppenheimers were there in the world, the top 100 in the world. But in South Africa, Motsepe is number 1. You see how they play with numbers. These guys are smart.
What's the idea? What is the commoners, I don't know how to say, opposition or response, because these guys have so much power. I mean, you even said even the Queen can't go to their square mile where they want to keep private. Who knows what they could be doing there, sacrificing human bodies. These guys are evil and crazy. So as a commoner, do you have any hope at all or not?
Look, I'm a prisoner of hope, but I want to repeat what one philosopher, I don't know whether it was Jim Ross or Jim Rohn, I don't know whether it was him. He said, get away from the 97%. Don't read what they read. Don't complain about what they're complaining. Move away from the 97%. I wish I was like that from the inception. So God has blessed me with the curse of loving people, the curse of caring about the masses. Had I had the heart to be cold-blooded, I'll be super rich. I'll be plenty super rich because I've had an opportunities to meet up with these guys who are wealthy. They liked me. There are some people that they've got natural charm. They say, I come this side. If, I'm with my buddies, they'll say, I come this side. Mina, in my stupidity or maybe me loving people, I'll say, but I'm with guys here. Why do you exclude them? Bring them along. Even when you're shooting films, I've done some international films, and they'll say, they'll give me a role, sometimes just a decent role. And they'll, plug me, nama, top leads. I'm looking, backwards and say, but I'm with so-and-so, come this side. And that can kill you. I remember, I'll make an example. I had a VIP ticket in one event. When I got there, I found guys that I know. We used to be in showbiz together. I stood with them. They didn't have a pass. I had a VVIP pass. But it felt so bad leaving them behind. I ended up not getting into the event because I said, man, we went to a marquee. I'm with these guys. I sympathize with them. You can't be rich like that. Once you are like that, you must know that you are cursed. You've condemned yourself now. I've been like that. People will say, I come this way. Even no shooter, Ike man, go na ma extra, go film. Mina ngibona ama-extra because I know these guys from Ilokishin. I know these guys from the, township high school. But I can't leave him behind. But he doesn't have a pass. And therefore, we can't get in, the two of us. There's only one seat for me. Then I end up sacrificing my seat, going to the lower rank. So I think that's the case. So this guy says, get away from the 97%. Don't complain. So an average man is always complaining, the government this and that. That's why I no longer invest much in politics. Hey, there's a Madlanga commission, this, because an average man is helpless. He wants a messiah, he wants some Kwanas who can come. Ike, don't you want to run for presidency? Ike, don't you want to be a mayor? We've outsourced power. I'm thinking, Uguti, you must take it upon yourself. If you're poor, you don't have sugar in the house, and say, it's my fault. Even if it's Ramaphosa making it impossible for you, say it is my fault. Like now. I work every day. Let me tell you this. I work every day. Sometimes I do have financial challenges. Yet I make money every week, and the money takes time to come. And I work with terrible people, and I must say, some of my clients, black attorneys, they're very horrible. Some will owe me money, but to pay, it takes, an arm and a leg to force this guy to pay. Even if somebody owes you 2 million, you say, man, give me 100 million for now, give me 100,000 for now, you'll see me. Some of them, they want a situation which, somebody owes you 2 million. Says, I've got 600, let's close the account. That's what they want. It's a robbing business, because at that time you need money. Maybe you owing a bond and all that. You end up saying, okay, give me 600,000, but you've worked for 2 million. And I cannot blame them, because they're taking an advantage. There's so many people where I've taken half of what they owe me. Somebody will be owing me 3 million. And I'll say, okay, give me 900 now. And then we close the account. You no longer owe me. Because at that time I'm desperate, because they've prolonged, payment. Nowadays in South Africa, you must pay someone. If you work with government, pay someone in the account so that they can pay you. That's how people work. But I must still blame myself. Why is it that an idiot has an leverage over me? You must blame yourself. Whenever the situation is not in your favor, blame yourself. Why is it that this guy is at an advantage? I've got a problem with my prepositions. About at, on, in. I think no big and I won't touch. Most people, they struggle with my prepositions. Like I remember I was shooting a movie. I think instead of saying, he shot me I said in my back, so on the back. There's a on the back. The director kept on saying, no, it's not on, it's in my back. So it was like, sometimes I go with what sounds nicer. Sometimes I don't hear myself. I realize later when I watch a film, which I didn't put an S on a verb where I've used a noun singular. When I use a noun plural, I must not put a verb, because I speak fast. I'm not a first language speaker. But I do acknowledge and see those mistakes. What was I talking about?
We were talking about people should blame themselves.
Yes, you must always blame yourself. Even if somebody is dumping you, your woman doesn't want you anymore, it's your fault as a man.
What? That's crazy, man. That's how people kill themselves, brother.
No.
And there's things that are just above your power, There's God, there's the devil, there's the globalists, if you don't believe in
you're not powerless. You must tell yourself, if a woman doesn't want you, it's your fault that you took someone who doesn't like you. You must always go for people who are happy to see you. And if there are changes in the process, it's your fault not to spot those changes. If there is something that you can do to reverse the situation, it is your fault if you don't reverse the situation. If the situation is not reversible and you still stay, it is still your fault. You must walk away when you're disrespected, when love is no longer served. It's always your fault. It can't be like, someone out there, even if it's someone out there, believe which is my fault. Every man is an architect. Tell yourself, this situation is no longer favorable, let me move. The longer I stay, it is my fault. They say in English, the first time you are a victim, the second time you are a volunteer. As a guy, as an outie, there are certain situations, be it a work situation. I was talking to one guy, I won't mention him, he's an acting judge. As I was going to court this week, I bumped into him. So we chat. We go, man, Ike, as a person, because he was telling me about another judgment that was delivered. He was a party, a participant in that. It has to do with a trust account for advocates who are having a trust. He will know when I mention this. A trust account. There's also contingency fee changes, 25%. He was saying, you know what, Ike? When things are changing, you can see. The same as when you go to your woman. You can see, good man, things are changing. There's someone, or you're not caught off guard, good man, this woman dumped me. I mean, I get surprised when somebody says, this woman, it shocked me. No, you can see. Even when you try to touch a person, they will tell you, good man, can you stop? Man, I'm not feeling well, intimacy. There are certain things that will happen before. You can see the atmosphere, which is no longer favorable. But if you fail to see them, coming, it's your fault. Even, come on. Even Samson, how many times? What is Samson? Tell me your power. He says, no, if you time me. You could see. If there's going to be a war, you can see, but you fail to analyze. And whose fault is that? So it is like that. But going back to these politicians, someone was asking me, why do I hate Julius Malema? I don't hate Julius Malema. Julius Malema is a traitor, and I repeat, if Julius Malema was still alive in the 80s, he was there, he would have been necklaced. The masses would have looked for him. They would have looked for him, hunt him down, because he's a traitor. He's pushing for illegal immigration. This is a person who's somersaulting on all positions. He has multiple views on Mokwebane, on Thuli Madonsela, on Zuma, on Mandela, on Mbeki, on Gordhan. He keeps on changing. Gordhan must go, Gordhan must stay. Judge Klope is worse. Judge Klope is the best educated. At some point he says we've got the worst judge in the Western Cape. No, Judge Klope is the best. Zuma is the best. Zuma must go. Cyril must come in now, must warm up. He must lead us. Cyril is worse, is corrupt. Thuli Madonsela is worse. Thuli Madonsela is good. He's always changing with no justification, and he plays them. I say, if you're a revolutionary, you cannot be telling your people to take land and settle there when you follow all the banking protocols. But because we are minions, South African politics, they're based on tribalism. EFF ilandelwa amapedi in the main. Amapedi from now Tembisa and all those people, Petersburg and all that. MK, people who sympathize with MK, many of them are Mazulu. People who sympathize no Ulumisa Mankosa. The ANC, it has always been, a terrain Mankosa and Mazulu. Once in a while there'll be a Masutu. It has always been a fight between the Xhosas and the Zulus. You go to other parties. Today is Cyril Ramaphosa. The vendors, they see nothing wrong with Ramaphosa. They are quiet. But one thing I like about Ramaphosa, we are all suffering under him. Maybe there are those few, who are benefiting. Abakhuluma language yakhe. But eShawela, they are suffering. The food is expensive for all of us. South Africa is a tribal party. IFP as a KZN, Amazulu. People can try to deny it. NFP, Amazulu. Gayton is confused. He realizes good the numbers are not there for the colored voters. Then he's moving up and down. He's just a hustler. And when people ask me about the Gayton, look, sometimes you can do the right thing, but you turn out to be wrong. I was saying this to another prison warder. I said, sometimes what is good can be bad. Like, for an example, when you're in jail, they say the prisoners, they're given dagga. Prison policy doesn't agree with prisoners having phones, dagga and all that. But it is good when you look at the end results. It minimizes gang violence because these guys get distracted. You find prisoners, they're on Facebook, they're jolling, they say, you know what, it's not allowed, but it's allowed. So in this case, Gayton McKenzie, he drowned other people when he was trying to get out. He drowned other people. He was benefiting from alcohol, benefiting from all those things, allegedly. But when he wanted to come out, he brought in special assignment. If I'm in jail, it's tough enough. Don't, believe people, but the jail is like sunset. The mere fact that you are incarcerated, you wish that you were a hobo. If you saw a hobo walking down there, you'll say, that hobo is better than me. 100%, I'm telling you, when you are in jail, my man, the first time I was in jail, I was 13. I sat in a cell. I miss Chappies. I miss Chappies bubblegum. Because I know that I'm not going to eat Chappies bubblegum. Little things, they start to make sense. I saw all the street corners in my hood, even corners that are necessary to me, but I miss them. I saw a car moving, which is, and by this time, there's this, the mere fact that people, in fact, 2021, maybe I've been inside a jail cell or maybe 5 times, The last time, I was in this kwela, from the court, going back to Sun City. Imagine passing your house. I see where I stay, and I remember these colored guys. They were pointing, as we are passing here. They point at my neighborhood. They say, I wish to stay there one day. I wish if I can have a house there.
Yeah.
And they're passing, and I can see the tree, the long tree, like in the palm tree. That's my tree.
That's my tree.
And, but I'm going to a cell.
Ish.
When you got there, you little things, by that time I was a vegetarian. But when I got there, I said, I'm going to eat everything. I need to survive, even if they say it's a pig. Eat pork, Baba. It's a jail. Yeah. So, and then you're with guys who don't wash. You don't have a choice. We are here. This guy doesn't wash. This guy is a hobo outside. Imagine you're in jail. This guy is a hobo outside, but he's your leader outside. He says, whoosh, one. Palagakban. Kalangan. So when you're in jail, freedom. It's important. I can lock you in one room, in a mansion. You'll go crazy. You'll go crazy after some time. You'll stay 1 night, 2 nights. That's when you'll need the assistant of other TV, radio, communication. Those things become important, but you're still in jail. So now, because you want to come out, you spy. Imagine I'm in jail. There's a female prison warder. She becomes my girlfriend. She gives me favors and all that. And we're not because now you want to go out. No, you're a snitch. I'm not promoting a crime, but there are certain things that are bad, but they have got a good outcome. That's why even in our law, we've got a plea bargain.
Excuse me, I have to. I was going to let the Gayton thing go, right? But the crimes that Gayton, and many people will also agree with me and challenge you on this, is the crimes that Gayton, quote unquote, snitched on involved prisoners having firearms, more than one firearm inside the bars.
I don't condone those.
And on top of that, these prisoners were buying boys to have sex with them. He exposed that.
I don't condone those. I condemn those. But in him doing that, he blasted everyone. And there are guys in jail who are selling palms. There are those who are raped. I have always said that I don't condone them. Murder, I don't condone that. But there are those who think petty phone. I've got 2,000 rand cash, I'm selling things. But anyway, that's a story for another day. But these guys, all your leaders, I don't think that these guys, they love us. They are globalist puppets. They are there against the people. They just want votes and tenders. That's why they're fighting over my MMSCs to gain certain positions so that they can gain a PESCO municipality. These are enemies formed against us. But the people, they believe in them. Unfortunately, the voting system as it is rigged. The system is rigged. And when you tell people, they don't believe. They still believe in marching and registering. Even if you vote me in parliament, I'll be swallowed unless I've got 2/3. And then when I come there, I become a Hugo Chavez. When I come there, I become a Donald Trump. And I say, this goes. And South Africans, they don't have the stamina. They will turn against you. Because once you start doing certain things, the globalists, they will reinforce. They will fight back. And then South Africans will be saying, you know what, it was better in Egypt. At least we had petrol. The petrol price was there. But you tell them, listen, when we engage in this way, this is what is going to happen. Because the economy is in the hands of the outsiders. All these products that are here on my shelves, they're going to start starving us. And we don't have the heart anymore to start things from fresh. And you look now how these guys, they've sold us treaties, signing bilateral treaties, multinational treaties. We no longer have a seed. If you take an apple seed, we take a peach seed, you put it, underground, put fertile soil that you can come up with, it doesn't grow because it's genetically modified. You must get the seed, go Russia, in other countries. I mean, they've killed the natural seed. Every year you must buy. Back in the days, the farmers, they knew, there is maize, this one will use the same seed to plow the ground. Now you can't. You must buy all the time because these guys, they want to control the food industry. The food security is compromised. So they are forever thinking, how do you control these guys? Even if you manufacture your car, there must be some component that you cannot find inside your country. It's manufactured somewhere. Then they cut you. Like they trying with Trump, because okay, you've got tariffs there, you won't give you this, and then so that they can force you to change your policies, and then their policies, they are always against the people. That's where we find ourselves. So unfortunately, a common man in the street doesn't see which the game is rigged. The dice, they are loaded against. There are few who are gonna make it. I mean, you look at the jobs now, unemployment. That's why I was saying, when you're talking about the dictatorship of the proletariat, the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie, can no longer talk the politics of the 60s. So many things have changed. Who's the working class when jobs are being decimated? Who's the proletariat? The Zimbabweans who are working in the farms as cheap labor. The Basotho nationals, a few Kaysen, are those the working class coming with Marxism, socialism, Marx, and says the dictatorship, you must have the working class and the proletariat and the peasants working the farm. That politics, it won't get you anywhere. When you start talking like that to 2K, 2000, they don't understand you. They say, guys, it's about what's working now. We're into the artificial intelligence. All those jobs that existed then no longer exist. I'm trained for a world that no longer exists. I'm still lucky because certain fields you can still do what you train for, like in law, but many fields are diminishing. Doctors back in the days, they used to do everything. Dietitians came in. Even now, they're being decimated. The gym guy now tells you what vitamin A does to you. A gym guy, he now knows. He reads Google. He's a nutritionist. Any guy can now, counsel you on finances. Back in the days, you had to go to school, so that you can be a financial advisor. Every guy now can come up, set up a YouTube, and then he's followed. He's got numbers. There were times where you needed a degree to do certain jobs. The standard went down. I mean, back in the days, you could be a bank teller, a standard 10, matric. Then the market became saturated. People started acquiring degrees and all that, and then they got in there. And it's becoming tough. Now you find doctors marching in the streets. Imagine a medical doctor marching in the streets. I heard last time they said the magistrates, they were marching. Last time it was the prosecutors. Those ones, they march all the time. Imagine the prosecutors with their gowns, the magistrate with their gowns in court. These are people who are supposed to, push justice. They're marching in the streets. They're not being paid. Who's next? The judges.
I want to know, why is it, right, that the people that are losing jobs are Africans? Like, if you can go to first world countries, they don't have diminishing jobs, hence people marching due to technology, you see. So is this perhaps intentional that the Africans are the ones that suffer? Because technology it has been a good thing in the job market for the rest of the world, Europe, America.
It goes back to what I said earlier on. As Africans, we've got a problem. We don't understand the world. We are always pointing a finger. It's them. Instead of saying, there are changes. I can see them happening. Like now, people have been talking about my 4G technology. We can see, but the question is, what are you doing? You're still stuck in Fordism era, the industrialization, 1800s. We're not changing yourself. You're not changing yourself. We're still stuck there. We don't understand the world. In the now, we don't understand it. Maybe back then, Other people, they adapt, they move in. I mean, globally, I mean, you check abantu abamnyama, they're still the same. You go to America, Crips and Bloods, you find black people at the age of 60 going to nightclubs, still talking gang language, doing drugs. I'm not saying other people don't do those things. So Tina, we are always looking outside. Slavery. We're going to cry apartheid for the next 200 years. We were colonized. Everybody was colonized. Everybody was enslaved. We've got tribes in Europe. They were enslaving each other. The Vikings, the Huns, the Byzantine, everyone. But people emerged. During the Renaissance, there were people colonizing each other. Even white people who were brought in here, they were brought in here as forced labor. They were colonized by companies. Your Dutch East India Company, about Columbus. These Voyager trips is not nations, the kings deciding. They went there, these companies, maybe they will tell Isabella, okay, this, but we, the financiers, got money, we're going to Australia. These are companies, people who were enslaved, the British settlers who landed in KZN 1820. We have no solution. I can tell you, even Shaka Zulu or Shaka Senzangakhona didn't know what to do with the settlers in Britain. Didn't have an answer, didn't know what to do with the settlers. In Cape Town, 1652, they arrived before he was born. He knew about them. He knew about the 1820 British settlers. Shaka dies in 1826. I think 1826. If not that, 1828. Britain landed in KZN. In numbers. These were soldiers, workers. What is the solution here? You should have foreseen with these guys, they will expand. In future, they will threaten my kingdom. There's no solution. So, Tina, we don't think ahead. Magoba nama changes. But you know what? There are going to be changes here. Where do we, place ourselves? We are always looking the revolution. We are always talking like it's 1960. That's why I always tell you, you cannot be talking like it's 1961. Like you ask a Azapo guy, a BCM, a PAC guy, what is the solution? You know what he's going to say? He's going to go back to 1959, the Sobukwe speech, the Communist Manifesto, it's what Trotsky and Lenin and Visage. If you take the land, the Communist Manifesto of this, it doesn't even filter in, you could be sitting here in one room and become a billionaire or multimillionaire because of your phone, how you've used your phone. You're still thinking that, what is 1962. It tells you, the means of productions are in the hands of a few bourgeoisie, the petty bourgeoisie, the means of control, until the working class and the peasants. Who are the peasants? I keep on asking, who are the peasants in South Africa? The Mozambicans, illegal foreigners. Who are the proletariat, the dictatorship of the working class? COSATU is nowhere to be found. All these unions, they are dead because jobs are gone. There was a time when COSATU had 2 million members, around early 2000, gone. COSATU actually is invested in all these companies. All these companies, they're owning shares, trillions, if they even chow that money. But Popru, they are rich. Bo Num, they are rich. They took workers' money, 1 hour salary, they invested it. Some guys have been given shares. Check all these guys who went to BEE. Check all these guys. I was looking at the top 10 richest women. There's another woman. She was into trade unions. Most of them, they emerged from trade unions. They were trading, selling. It's easy to move from politics of the trade unions to companies. And remember, the trade unions, they liaise and interact with politics because of this alliance, COSATU and the politicians. And at work, or the companies, they pick you to say, we'll give you shares, but talk to your buddies. We want this, trade route to the east, and then you are there as a broker, like Cyril Ramaphosa. You check Motsepe. He started with these companies in the mines, somewhere liaising with trade unions, and then from there they in. So we are now we are to the petty flag. Because you don't think ahead. We're not thinking ahead. We're always blaming others.
There are people that do think ahead, though. I, for one, grew up in a South Africa where the rand was 7 rand to the dollar, as opposed to today.
Yeah, I mean, when I was born, it was. When I was born, 2 pounds.
2 rands was 1 pound.
2 rands. No. 1 pound was 2 rands when I was born, and a dollar was almost equivalent
If not
to
less.
a rand.
It was less actually at some point.
I don't know that, but I'm talking about the 70s, 80s, 90s. I think the dollar was still stronger, but maybe with few cents. But there was a time when South Africa, the rand was equal to a dollar, when 1 rand or 2 pounds, British pounds, was 2 rands.
Great. Now, my question is this. The people that curate this, maybe this is out of my ignorance, but the people that curate the value of the rand, the value of the other currency, they should have been doing that using gold, right? However, they've somehow convoluted the system by, importing, exporting. We have a lot of foreigners here. They take the money, they send it back to India. Now the rand has gone down. But an article or a study came out last week that said the rand is supposed to be
7 rand.
8 rand. Or 7 rand, but I read somewhere where it said 8 rand to the dollar.
Yeah, we're dealing with speculators. We're dealing with people who are manufacturing these things.
Yes. Since is this true? And with your perspective, do you think South Africa will, decline or incline?
So now, if the rand is supposed to be 7 rand or 8 rand, why are they not going back? I'm sure there'll be economics disadvantages, to traders and those, who'll be crying foul. I don't know. But the monetary system is a very complex one. Here you're dealing with people who've held, the finances, institutions for 1,000 years. They're thinking ahead. And even when they move away from the gold, they'll justify it. There's not enough gold in the world to back up every rand. They'll justify it and say, it's a trader's market. But in fairness, the world is not a fair place. Yes, sometimes you need to learn how to play rough. Unfortunately, the leaders that we have, they are not like leaders in other countries, who are dependent on oil with lesser populations, like in Libya or then, like some other countries in the Far East. But unfortunately those countries, they also have emperors or a king determining. I'm thinking of this country, I'm trying to think of this country as I speak, where sometimes we find that their currency is equivalent to a dollar. Most of these countries are in the East dependent on oil. I'm not sure whether... I'm thinking of the country, where's this guy, the Sultans, where do they come from? There's so many countries, Brunei, Manewani, Malema, is it Malema? Yeah, I forgot those countries. There's a richest soccer player, I think it's related to the Sultans of Brunei. He said he's the richest soccer player in the world. And the guy, nobody knows him.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
He's not rich because of soccer. He's rich because of his inheritance. He comes from royalty there. They'll tell you that he's worth how many billions. And then comes about Cristiano, about Messi, about Neymar. So it is that. When you're dealing with finances, you're dealing with people who've studied the financial, the finances and the financial institutions for over 1,000 years. I mean, you look at the Jewish guys who came to Europe, or emerged Europe rather. Let me use. These are guys who were excluded, from owning the land, means of production. But they were smart. Sometimes I wish that blacks were that smart. And they were given money, to deal mal. You know why? Europe was Christian, or still is Christian. And in the Bible, as you know that the Bible is always revised, time and again, Rome always had the monopoly to revise Christianity, the Constantinople Council of Jamila, Council of Ephesus, Council of Nicaea, Council of whatever. There's so many councils, maybe more than 11 councils, where they alter the Bible. So in the Bible, there was a clause that said, money is the root of all evil. And because these ones, they were newcomers, they emerged late, they said, give them that institution, but dealing in money, because they are evil. You know, like the gypsies, not really welcomed in Europe. They're a mixture of Indians, and, you know, it's a mixture, you know. So they were looked down upon. Even the Jews, or Jewish, prefer to use the word Jewish, looked down upon. And then they said, okay, they cannot deal in a famine. They cannot deal with so whatever. They cannot be merged into royal families. Some of them, like Abu Rothschild, they tried to intermarry with a royalty, you know, but they've always been excluded, expelled in many countries. They say they are ritualists, they kill children, you know, pedophilia, human sacrifice. But they say they are evil. Let them deal in mad. But as they were dealing, Ngama finances, they became better. They move from barter trade, introduce, you know, the currency, all these system abakalangazo, usury, fiat system, paying interest. They ended up owning the land. They ended up controlling the land, because you cannot carry land and trade land. You need a medium of exchange, you know, which is money. By the time Europe moved, it's no, man, we've allowed these guys to deal in currency monetarily. They went to the Bible to change that clause that says the love, they say the love of money. They say the excessive love of money. They put the love, because the excessive love of money, they try to refine it, because back in the days they'll say money is the root of all evil. Then they say the excessive love of money is the root of all evil, so that it can open a gateway for them. By the time the Jewish fellows, they've had 1,000 years ran. You know, they are in the, you know, leading position. So this is where we find ourselves. But when it comes to solution in South Africa, yeah, it looks bleak.
Do you think Cyril could eventually become a dictator, like we've seen in other African countries?
Dictator in what fashion?
As in never retiring.
He will retire. He will move out of power. But what he'll try to do is to appoint his successor. Like Jacob Zuma tried to put Nkosazana Zuma, trying to run this thing as if it's a dynasty, because he was trying to ensure his survival. He knew that if Nkosazana Zuma lost, like it did, he was going to go to jail, or he was going to be facing charges. Had Nkosazana Zuma won, things would have been different for Jacob Zuma. He might not have even left the ANC. You know, Thabo Mbeki tried the same. With Thabo Mbeki, he tried to run a third term in the ANC, because it didn't want to put another successor, so that the ANC can control government. Thabo Mbeki was foolish in a way, because he was supposed to appoint maybe a female candidate like Zille and say, run on my behalf. But he didn't trust, because some other people, you put them there, they turn against you. Like Cyril Ramaphosa. Cyril Ramaphosa was brought in by Jacob Zuma. You know why? He was trying to punish Cyril Kgalema Motlanthe. Because Kgalema Motlanthe, when they were contesting second term Zuma, he said Kgalema should continue as a deputy president. Kgalema said, no, I'm contesting for two positions, deputy and president. Zuma said, okay, if that's the case, I cannot support you. You know, because you're contesting against me, I cannot support you again as a deputy. I'm bringing Cyril Ramaphosa as a deputy, and Cyril Ramaphosa will back me. That's how Kgalema lost. And Kgalema said, I can't compete with Cyril for deputy. I'm only competing no Zuma, because they were friends. And he brought him as a compromise, and Cyril is dealing with him. Cyril has dealt with them, all of them, because he's got the financial muscle, you know, and the backing. I mean, he's dealt with Ismail, he's dealt with Mampisa, he's dealt Ngabo Bonke, all of them. But Tony Yangeni gone. Bo Mkhwebane gone, Bo Just Hlope gone. He's dealt with whoever thinking, Black Jesus, also Northwest, Supra, dealt with them. Bomabuza, dealt with them. But other than that, as we reach the end, yeah, so this is it. And for me, until we catch up next time, yeah, I think I've spoken for over an hour now. Yeah, but yeah, anything you want to add? Yeah, but that's it. And for me, Emakaya, until next time, and say hala if you hear me.